Being a desert, Arizona is highly susceptible to drought, especially since 40% of the state's water comes from one source, the Colorado River. Arizona's annual usage of water amounts to 3 trillion gallons, an astronomical figure. Nearly 3/4 of this is devoted to agricultural use, 20% is used for municipal purposes, while the remaining fraction goes to industry. Since 1980, Arizona's annual water usage has actually decreased and now rests at about 6.9 million acre-feet of water. In previous years, the Colorado River has supplied between 16 and 20 million acre-feet, but now its flow is dwindling to just over 7 million. While this may not seem to have immediate importance, the Colorado River must be divided between 7 states and parts of Mexico, meaning that soon the river may not provide enough water to sustain the people that currently depend on it.
The ethics surrounding the government's involvement with our water is crucial to the water challenge. To understand the ethics behind water, we have to define exactly what our water rights are. Since 2010, access to clean water was recognized as a human right by the United Nations. The UN's essential human rights states every human has the right to life. Water, along with oxygen, is essential to any life form on Earth. Therefore, according to the UN, water is a human right. Having established what our water rights are, what is an example of the violation of this right? How can we fix it, and how should the government be involved? On a local scale, there are significant complexities we must consider in ethics surrounding water. In Arizona, there is a significant population of indigenous tribes that are very attached to certain landmarks and bodies of water. Indigenous water ethics is currently a very real thing in Arizona and has been long debated. To approach this issue, we must understand the manner in which indigenous tribes people value water and what we, as a Western civilization, make of it. In North Dakota and Illinois, there was a water scandal regarding the Standing Rock tribe and its interactions with the police. The tribe and other supporters were assaulted with pressure washers and high-powered mace during their peaceful protest. The protesters worked towards stopping an oil pipeline from being built under the Missouri River, a sacred water source. Government involvement proved to be a bad idea in this case, although in Southern California, for example, the government ruled a section of the Coachella Valley to be a water reserve for the Cahuilla tribe. After these numerous conflicts, including the controversy between American water laws and indigenous tribes, the UN established indigenous water rights. This is an important example of the UN's involvement in global water ethics. The UN worked to solve these ethical issues on a much greater scale. For example, Niger, along with other African countries, are undergoing seriously unethical water conditions. Niger is being bribed into allowing foreign countries like Korea, Kuwait, and Japan to privatize their existing water sources. Privatization, the process of allowing private companies to own and sell water sources as a product, puts poor communities of Africa in serious danger. When the access to clean bodies of water is permanently cut off from citizens by companies and instead sold to them at a price that is not affordable, the poor will be left to find dirty water sources, exposing them to diseases or dying of dehydration. If the UN would have intervened in Niger's government, maybe this issue could have been avoided. There are a number of established methods of improving the water conditions for many. Dr. Groenfeldt, the CEO of Water Culture and the author of the book Water Ethics Towards a Global Ethics Charter, has pushed for developing governmental charter statements. These charters work to establish more refined water laws and precautions in different countries. The charters revolve around the following essential principles: honor and promote justice, equity, the rights of nature, care and compassion in decision-making, learn from and engage all disciplines of school of thought, including science, law, philosophy, and religion, as well as from the traditional knowledge of indigenous cultures, and learn from and engage the private and public sectors at the local, regional, and global levels. There are about 10 charters established in countries around the world since 2007. Dr. Groenfeldt and many foreign leaders hold conventions to establish new and improved standards for future charters, bringing better conditions for populations around the world. Solutions promoted by Dr. Groenfeldt and his company are a significant advancement for water ethics around the world.
As stated previously, a large portion of Arizona's water comes from the Colorado River. And with the river supply dwindling, a major factor in Arizona's future elections will be drought plans. Currently, Arizona has 2 major water usage plans: Safe Yield and Assured Water Supply. Safe Yield restricts the amount of water pumped out of the ground proportionally with how much of the reservoirs are replenished. The problem with Safe Yield is that the law allows more water to be pumped out of the ground than is replenished, meaning the reservoirs will never be fully refilled. Assured Water Supply, conversely, is geared more towards the future planning and requires major Arizona cities to present an annual water supply for the next 100 years, preventing the city from falling into a drought without ample time to prepare. As our water supplies dwindle, drought plans will become ever more prevalent in local elections. Globally, the challenge persists. South Africa is currently in a drought so severe that the country might run out of water next summer. The government is taking drastic measures to prevent this disaster. The country is under level 5 water restrictions, prohibiting the use of municipal drinking water for anything other than consumption or bathing. On top of that, each person is limited to only 75 liters, or nearly 20 gallons of potable water daily, which is less than a quarter of the United States' national average. These major water restrictions imposed by the government have prevented Cape Town's taps from running dry, at least for another year.
When considering water rights from the economic side of things, the consideration of water as a product and water privatization stand front and center. There is considerable disagreement among people about what should be done. Currently, 85% of Arizona's population is served by public water systems. Arizona also has a $21 billion tourist economy that relies heavily on healthy wildlife and riparian habitat that support a variety of tourist activities. Diminished flow in the Colorado River would severely hurt this aspect of Arizona's economy, as it would damage habitats and other resources necessary for tourism to thrive. Private water companies offer a potential solution that could sustain Arizona's tourist economy, as private companies can bring in water from other areas. Nearly 20 years ago, the UN International Conference on Water and the Environment in Dublin deemed water to be an economic good. Although popular opinion is now divided, water is still very much treated as a product. In Lagos, Nigeria, the government made a move to partner with a large private water company that would lay pipes providing clean drinking water to millions of citizens. However, the government deemed it cost prohibitive. From the citizens' perspective, though, they still have to pay substantial premiums to local government water suppliers for water that is still unsafe. Demand for water in Lagos has increased with the population growth and will only continue to do so, as will demand in the rest of the world. In the future, governments will be incapable of supplying the increased population of the world with water without the help of private companies, as illustrated by the situation in Lagos, Nigeria. If nothing is done to address the issue, and both governments and corporations are not willing to compromise to reach acceptable solutions that make clean, safe water available, the world will face a large-scale water crisis. To avert potential disaster, governments around the world will need to partner with private companies that can deliver water to citizens.
To further our understanding of this topic, we contacted an expert in the water conservation field, Dr. Doug Parker from the California Institute for Water Resources, on whether the government should have control over our water rights. Dr. Parker explained that the government should provide a water conservation plan for the public to follow, but not without very good reason. He further explains that those who lose with this water plan should be compensated, such as factories that use large amounts of water in production. Government should take control of water rights when needed, but only sparingly.